A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a dramatic escalation of tensions between the United States and China, President Donald Trump has issued a scathing critique of Chinese President Xi Jinping's recent tour of Southeast Asia. This 5-day trip, which includes visits to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Malaysia, is perceived by Trump as a strategic move aimed at undermining U.S. interests amidst an ongoing trade war. Trump, speaking from the Oval Office, suggested that the discussions occurring in Vietnam were centered around how to screw the United States. He acknowledged the meetings between Xi and Vietnam's leaders, but expressed disdain for the implications, stating, "That's a lovely meeting, like trying to figure out, how do we screw the United States of America?" Xi's arrival in Hanoi on Monday was marked by meetings with Vietnam's top officials, including a call for stronger trade ties and the signing of numerous cooperation agreements. The agreements reportedly cover a range of sectors, including supply chains and technology, which are critical for both nations. Vietnam, heavily impacted by Trump's tariffs, has found itself in a delicate position, balancing its economic dependence on the U.S. while also fostering closer ties with China. As the U.S. imposes punitive tariffs of up to 46% on Vietnamese goods, Xi's visit is seen as an opportunity for China to solidify its influence in the region. In the first quarter of this year, Vietnam imported approximately $30 billion worth of goods from China, while exporting about $31.4 billion to the U.S. This economic interdependence complicates the geopolitical landscape, as Vietnam navigates its relationships with both superpowers. In a televised speech, Chinese official Xia Baolong responded to the U.S. trade war, labeling it as extremely shameless and accusing the U.S. of attempting to undermine Hong Kong's stability. Xia's remarks reflect a broader sentiment in Beijing, which is increasingly assertive in its foreign policy. "Let those peasants in the United States wail in front of the 5,000 years of Chinese civilization," he stated, highlighting China's confidence in its historical and cultural significance. Xi's tour comes at a time when China faces tariffs of up to 145% on its products, prompting the Chinese leader to seek out new alliances and strengthen existing partnerships in Southeast Asia. His meetings in Vietnam are aimed at presenting China as a stable trading partner, in stark contrast to what is perceived as the chaotic and unpredictable policies emanating from Washington. In an article published in Vietnam's Communist Party newspaper, Xi emphasized that no winners exist in trade wars and tariff wars, advocating for a multilateral trading system and cooperation between nations. He stressed the importance of opposing unilateral bullying, a clear reference to U.S. trade policies. Vietnam's Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh echoed this sentiment during his discussions with Xi, indicating a shared commitment to resist external pressures and maintain regional stability. The two countries signed 45 cooperation agreements, covering areas such as artificial intelligence, joint maritime patrols, and railway development, which are vital for enhancing economic ties. Despite the ongoing tensions, the U.S. has signaled a willingness to negotiate, with officials indicating that they will work with Vietnam to reduce reciprocal tariffs. This move reflects the complex balancing act that many Southeast Asian nations are forced to perform, as they seek to maintain favorable relations with both the U.S. and China. As Xi concludes his visit to Vietnam and prepares to continue to Malaysia and Cambodia, the implications of this tour are significant. The Chinese leader's efforts to strengthen regional ties come at a time when the U.S. is pushing for countries in Latin America and elsewhere to reduce their reliance on China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has attempted to downplay fears of a complete decoupling of the U.S. and Chinese economies, stating that there is a big deal to be done at some point. However, the ongoing trade war has undoubtedly shifted the dynamics of international trade and diplomacy, with countries in Southeast Asia now caught in the crossfire. As the situation unfolds, many analysts are closely monitoring how Vietnam and other Southeast Asian nations will navigate their relationships with these two powerful countries. The potential for further escalation remains, as both sides continue to leverage their economic strengths in an increasingly competitive global landscape. In conclusion, Xi's Southeast Asia tour is not just a diplomatic endeavor. It is a strategic move that highlights the complexities of international relations in the context of a trade war. With both the US and China vying for influence, the outcomes of these meetings will have lasting implications for the region and beyond. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.